Live from our home studios across North America, please welcome the hosts of Top 5, Buu, Jason, Peter, and our special guest today, Aubrey King. Aubrey did such a fine job on Buu Lambs at the Edge a couple of weeks. We decided to have him back.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome, Aubrey, and welcome to our community. If you're new to the channel, we talk tech around here, primarily application delivery and application services. So if that's your ball of fun, give that subscribe a little bang. Every week, we like to thank our sponsor this week, as it is every week, community.f5.com. Check it out. Get your free membership today. And here's something new, Boo. You'll like this. They can check out our merch at shop.f5.com. You go into apparel, and then you can get yourself a shirt with little Jimmy packets on it.
I saw these vests are still on there, actually, and there's some DevCentral shirts, and there is actually men's and women's cuts on there as well. I know a lot of women complain in the tech community when the vendors only do men's cuts, but there's actually women's cuts of shirts as well. So everyone can have one.
And so this week is Top 5, where we count down our favorite stories over the last month. I'll spin the topic wheel in a moment. But just a quick question for the fellas. We sort of like toss out these questions to see what you like. And I brought this up a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking about it this morning on my walk, since, you know, we kind of go back in time for Top 5 to look over the last month. And on a security sidebar, I asked Sander and Ray a couple of weeks ago, if you had your choice and we could time travel, would you travel back in time, or would you travel to the future? And it's up to you whether or not you want to come back. So I'll tell you mine. I kind of thought, since everything in the past has already happened, and while it would be cool to go back and see a dinosaur and something, I think I'd like to move to the future, see what it's like in 2100, and then come back to the current time to save the world. How about you, Boo?
You know what? The movie Back to the Future always intrigued me on the things that could potentially happen and things that could change the course of the future as well. And just knowing that, I've always thought that, you know, I wouldn't want to change anything that anything I've ever regretted. I still wouldn't want to change. It's interesting to think back on that kind of stuff. But unless I lost my memory, I probably wouldn't want to go back. I'd want to go into the future and kind of see how things turned out. See if we invented a way to freeze our brains and then actually just live on forever inside of the metaverse or you know, whatever we're going to create around that.
I think the Futurama style in the pickle jar would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know if we're that far off of that.
Yep. What about you, Aubrey?
Well, for me, I guess, the curious side of me would definitely rather go to the future. But I think the diehard comic fan in me has to say the past so that I could get Detective Comics 27 and, you know, first appearances of every superhero I love. So mint condition. Right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. And the shower Jason, who got his camera fixed just in the nick of time.
No, I'm sure you can tell by my exposure that this is not my normal camera. So I found my Logitech Brio floating like behind the monitor, so I slapped that up there. My normal camera is working, but the wiring from there to here on StreamYard is not currently working. So you get overexposed Jason today.
If we love any kind of Jason.
What's that?
I said we love any kind of Jason.
You know, overexposed Jason solved some of my, my blemishes. So that's good. It's like I've got that Robert Stack on, what is it? The mysteries, the Unsolved Mysteries show. Now how he was always in that, like that fogged filter. So I got that going for me. If I were to go backward or forward, I'd go forward. I'd go forward for sure. because, you look back, my wife is really into genealogy. And so we're looking back at our ancestors and all that. And, we don't have necessarily pictures of everyone back, but we have some kind of an idea of, the times that they lived in, the legacy that they left, and what brought us here. But, we haven't met our great grandchildren, all of our grandchildren yet, and what does the legacy that we left behind look like going forward? And so, I think going forward and then coming back might inform some changes I'd make in the way that I live my life based on, what comes after me. Right.
Yeah. And then you really don't have to worry about the whole butterfly effect, going into the future. So
no paradox is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are when we were talking about on that security sidebar in the chat, we were talking about your favorite time travel movies, and Time Cop is probably my, Jean-Claude Van Damme, not the best actor, but that particular movie, I really loved that movie. And one of my favorite in that was Ron Silver. I don't know if he was the actor or the character, but in the future, he goes back. Yeah, he goes back. He's meeting his younger self, and he's slapping a candy bar out of his hand. He's like, "Stop that!" Like, so if I were to go back, that'd be me. It's like, dude, stop eating so much.
Well, quick hello before we. Oh, sorry, Boo.
I was going to mention that.
Hello, Josh, and we also got another fave, Daniel, in the audience today. How's it going, Daniel? Nice article in the crowdsource area of community.com.
Yeah,
check it out.
Folks receiving their merch though, so back from Agility, so that's awesome.
Sweet. All right, we're ready to count this thing down. Probably the paradox of all. Our number one story is always
number 5.
So number 5 is mine. I should probably put this up to the top. If you don't know by now, I often cover F5 Labs articles over the last month. They do their threat research and then print out reports and articles and how the bad guys go about doing it, the mitigations that you can deploy to protect yourself against such attacks. It's no secret that probably the biggest story over the last month is the war in Europe, but not going to get into any political thing. But what we have done, Gail Corey, who is our CISO, with help from the labs team, just put together the cyber war risks. You never know when things like this can break out. And it's a pretty good article about what you can do right now just to protect yourself. Security's one of those things where it's not if it'll happen, it's when it potentially could happen. And what they've done is kind of interesting. They put together a number of suggestions depending upon kind of the company size or the size of your IT department or security department, or those that are there protecting your infrastructure. And so things like if you have a limited security program in place, it's kind of some of the basic stuff, backups, make sure you have your threat surface covered, the whole monitoring piece. And along with monitoring, it's also making sure that, a lot of times with firewalls, you're protecting the inbound attacks. But in today's world, whether there was a war going on or not, you really need to keep an eye on any of the data that is also going out, potentially exfiltrated data. And so they kind of go through, and then if you have a moderate level of maturity, hardening things, and it's still like kind of a lot of the basic stuff that organizations should be doing every day. And the first one, it was backups, but it's also making sure that you go through the process of restoring a backup. Just having the backup available somewhere doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to protect yourself if and when the time comes that you need to restore your data. They get into, even those that have more robust security programs, getting into the types of teams and what they can do during the potential cyber war, or just actually, it's not really so much what to do. And I think I've kind of made that clear, or maybe I'm just rambling on, but if you're attacked, it's more along the lines of what to do, now to prevent it or to help you in case there was. Now, F5 also has a couple of articles if you want to understand our position. Francois wrote an article over on the newsroom, f5.com newsroom, and we stand in support of Ukraine. And then over on Ask F5, so support.f5.com, our F5 security incident response team has also put together a advisory on what you can do to help protect yourself during this crisis out there in the big bad world. So I think some of those, obviously are, things we should do every day. But, and I know on DevCentral, we have a number of articles posted over the last couple of weeks about, how to, certain policies to protect yourself from these kinds of attacks, and how to block certain, although not always recommended necessarily, but there are also articles about how you can do some potential geo-blocking from, those countries that have conflicts going on right now, without getting too deep into that whole mess. But
yeah, the whole reiterating the basics just doesn't get old, because I think it was on the Labs show, like we just talked about how, you guys talked about how just don't be low-hanging fruit. Like, yeah, if you're a target and people want to spend the time, yes, they're going to do what it takes to get into your environment. I think it was the Kevin Mitnick talk that was from Agility, actually. But if you just take care of all the basics and then somebody's just kind of combing, don't be one of those easy targets where they're just in and through the front door and you're already pwned at that point. At least make it harder for folks. And so that low-hanging fruit in the article, should be something that hopefully everybody revisits every once in a while.
Right. You just got to make it more expensive, not worth it to the attacker, and just have them move on. Okay, it's taken too long. Let me just go on to the next one. So
Yeah, that's right. You're not going to eliminate the threats from the people who just want to take you personally down, right? But you can take away all the script kiddies and all those who are just looking for random opportunities out there on the interwebs.
Yep. And those basics too help. I know Labs has talked about these pieces of malware that'll, be hidden on the network for 6 to 10 months and then light themselves up. So, yeah. Were you going to say something, Aubrey?
Obscurity. Oh, yeah. So security by obscurity cannot be underestimated.
Although just changing a port number doesn't always work.
That's far from that obscure.
Cool. I think we have Buu up next. Isn't that right? For story number 2, which is actually
number 4.
Alrighty, so I am cheating. Well, I don't know if I'll call it cheating, but this week I'm actually bringing up my own article, which is setting up a basic customer edge to run virtual Kubernetes in F5 distributed cloud app stack. So I was excited to write this one and put this together because we were waiting for a while to actually reveal the name of what the future of this platform was going to be. And so I had a whole bunch of things kind of lined up. And this is one of the first things that I put together, was this initial article on running a Kubernetes inside of the app stack. Now, if folks were following along with some of my videos, I was actually excited to get my Intel NUC after months of waiting for supply chain issues to get sorted out. And now this is what I'm building on top of there. And hopefully folks want to follow along on my journey from being a traditional F5 person and into this modern app architecture and into edge computing. This particular one, I actually ran through, if folks didn't catch this on At the Edge, I actually ran through building this edge node and getting a workload running on top of that platform. And then I wrote this or published this article afterwards with all the instructions here. So yes, all these instructions are actually documented over on cloud.f5.com. However, there are pieces that I kind of had to pick out. It's multiple documents, and so this is hopefully giving everybody a path to find the various pieces of the document and also pick out any of the nuances that you might want to pay attention to with that. So I don't want to duplicate any documentation, but I want to make it a little bit more real with names and stuff that are picked out inside of there so that you can go ahead and run this in your own environment. This is something that anybody can do because there's actually a free tier of the distributed cloud platform that you can go play with. And so all of the pieces are there, documented, accessible for you. And by the end of it, we got to the point where we could run an Nginx container inside of distributed cloud. And there it is. And then I actually had it put up on this URL here, and I posted it into DevCentral so that people could hit it and we can take a look at the stats and whatnot as well. So that's my highlight article. It's my own, which isn't totally fair, but this is our rules that we're playing by here. So there it is. I'll bring everybody back on to chat about how that worked out.
I don't think it's unfair at all because I think it's it's new technology, it's new experiences, and that there's nothing sad about that. Maybe there was something sad in that while you were still live, it wasn't working yet, because those live demo trolls that come after you. But even for microservices March that we've been doing, the webinar that they were doing, they had some fail along the way, and I think that personally I like it when fail happens during a live demo because it's they get to see us not being 100% gamer, and it's like, oh yeah, the people that build this stuff, they also have to be in the trenches working through problems, figuring things out. So I always personally like to see not so it's like misery loves company, but just the human element of that when demos go south a little bit.
Yep.
Proving that it's live.
Yeah. It's funny, when I went through that build, probably in September is when I came over to the distributed cloud team from service provider, and putting that together at that point was very, very difficult on KVM, trying to figure out that I didn't have the right processors to get the job done, and understanding the difference between a Skylake processor and what is not a Skylake processor, and why tunneling extensions matter. That was very challenging, but working through the support process for me was great with that. It was like, okay, I can just put in a case. They have access to, all of my JSON blobs and the entire configuration. So they are able to, really take a look at that very quickly and get to the bottom of the issue fast. So kudos to you, man. That the KVM build is fun.
Maybe we'll try that next.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I think it's good stuff, Buu. Plus, as one of the hosts, you can kind of choose whatever you want, and it's not like we could stop you live anyway.
That's how it goes. Anything could have popped up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Why don't we move on to number 3, which is the only matching every time this show runs.
Number 3.
Number 3, well, that's all me, and my first of 2 today is actually out of the crowdsource on community.f5.com. If you haven't been on DevCentral in a while, in the crowdsource section is where our actually this one's in technically it's in the forums, but I've nominated this forum post as an article over in crowdsource because it wait, you flipped me. Okay, that's all right. We're on I'll get to the other one at number 1. This one from Daniel Wolf, Daniel, who's watching, is my number 3, and because it tracks well with what we're doing with Microservices March. So if you haven't been joining us on our Thursday shows, we're doing all the labs from NGINX as they go through their Microservices March. And what Daniel built and shared with the community over in Crowdsource is his build to get Minikube running and prepped for doing the labs on your own Ubuntu image. So if you didn't register for the labs and you just want to kind of follow along with on the DevCentral Git repo, you can do that and then just work through with your own Ubuntu server. Or if you want to work through all the exercises on the NGINX Learn K8S platform, or Instruct, I think that's what it is. If you want to walk through it on the Instruct platform, but save all of your content as you work your way through, then you can work through it more slowly and actually do the deep dives and the analysis and all of that of what you're doing. So having your own copy running on your own laptop, you're not beholden to the 30-minute build time of the lab platform, and you can really slow down and study. So I thought that was a great share, timely for what we're doing, but also, not just timely for Microservices March, but having a step through to build an environment that's ready for you to do any kind of Kubernetes type studying. So well done, Daniel. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Actually, when I saw that, I was like, that's like exactly what we needed. Just one of those little gaps that we often come across at DevCentral on things that the community could use. And it's awesome that Daniel could just jump in there and fill that in.
Yeah, because that's something you can build for yourself. That's, with UDF, you need to reach out to one of your sales engineers to get access to walk through a lab, which you can do, but it's a step and you get so much access to it. And then with the Microservices March, you get the lab environment, you can walk through the lab, but it just the time that you have on the platform before it boots you and you have to get back in, it just pressures you to push through the lab rather than slow down and take your time to really dive in and understand.
And kind of highlights one of the new kind of cool features on the new community.f5.com is the ability for our community to contribute such articles like the one Daniel contributed over and above just the, sharing of or asking of and then answering questions.
That's right. Yeah. And as we see content in, in the forums where somebody's just sharing their step through, we can totally nominate that to an article and build it out that way. So it's a lot of flexibility there. So if you haven't been over to DevCentral in a while, head over there and check out all the good community content in Crowdsource.
Absolutely. Are you ready for your debut on Top 5, Aubrey?
Absolutely, Pete.
All right, let's hit it with number
2.
All right. Well, mine this week was very near and dear to my heart. It was we talked about the war at the beginning that's going on. So this was basically an article written by Michael Coleman that was designed to help a customer bring up or get OFAC compliant in minutes. I mean, really, we had a number of customers that hit my team this week with the exact same request. How do I make sure my application is not being, engaged in some sort of warfare kind of component really, really quickly? We don't want to change a whole bunch of different things. Just want to change something really quick. So with that in mind, one of the neat things about the distributed cloud is that we can, put up a service on one of our regional edges that calls back to something that's already there, like let's say a VIP in a data center. So in this case, all we did was bring up another VIP and make sure that we had an ingress filter applied that would basically take all the sanctioned areas of the world and make sure that they are unable to connect down and into this infrastructure. Now, the thing for me that was really mind-blowing about it was Coleman had already worked this up. He had already got the solution going in his lab. And when I kind of put up the red flare and said, hey, I have a customer that needs XYZ, Coleman said, great, look at my DevCentral article. And it was great for me because, for me, it felt like going and grabbing that iRule that I really needed, kind of in the nick of time. And in this case, I did not grab an iRule. I grabbed the JSON blob that is kind of down the page a little bit, and then just pasted that right into into the properties of my software object. And voila, it built me a filter that I was able to apply to a VIP, and immediately we were meeting compliance. So for financial services and things like that, I think if anyone read the top 2021 article as well that came out from F5 Labs, you might know that financial services got impacted very hard at the end of 2021. So with that in mind, these guys are making sure that their front doors are quite locked as far as OFAC is concerned. So yeah, it was nice though. I mean, like, to just be able to go back to DevCentral, community.f5.com, and grab that code snippet was simple. I mean, really, like 5 minutes.
One thing I'll say too is we have a article submission kind of process, and need to, we check over articles and stuff before they get posted, but there's also room for, in situations like this, to get something up very, very quickly. Like, I remember Coleman pinged us and say, hey, I got this article. We kind of need this up right away. And so Rebecca, who some of the folks within DevCentral have met at this point, and you'll see her name throughout the platform, jumped on it right away. Everything looks good. Let's get it out the door really quickly. So nice to be helpful and reactive like that.
Oh yeah, and a lot of screenshots too for anyone that's using the UI. I mean, you don't have to do the JSON copy and paste, but it is a shortcut.
Well, we're all about the how-to.
Absolutely.
Great submission, Aubrey. And it's kind of nice, nowadays, right? Back even 5 years ago, something like that would have taken potentially like a few hours, maybe a week to get it all configured. And now in the age of automation and sharing of code and all that kind of stuff, it's boom, take it and go with it.
Yeah, and I mean, this came down to geolocation and ASNs. You just input them and done. So, yeah.
Good stuff. You ready for your second round, Jason?
Maybe. I think I confused the first one, so let's add more confusion to the table. So let's do that.
Let's roll the dice here.
Number 1.
It could be an article. It could be a post. It could be written on a piece of paper. It doesn't really matter what source it was. The content's the king, right? And for this one, years and years ago, Linux Geek has been in the community for quite a while, and he had posted this as like, well, that's pretty interesting. I think I could do something with that as well. And so I took what he had and took it, a step in a different direction. Well, fast forward all these years, and what he built and what I built years ago were not supportable anymore, because they were all on Acme V1, which got discontinued sometime in the last 6 or 7 months. I don't recall. But Acme V2 is what the Let's Encrypt servers API supports. And so he has a new version of what he built out there available in the code share. And in this case, he's using the DNS challenge. So he is, basically how Let's Encrypt works is you make a request, you sign, your certificate requests, you send them in, and then to make sure you're you, then they send you a challenge, and then you have to deploy that challenge either via DNS to your name servers and a text record, or onto your FQDN that you're going to apply the certificate to as a path on your web server. And so he took the DNS route with his. I'm actually writing an article, and it'll be out tomorrow or Thursday. I forget exactly the day it's supposed to go out, but anyway, I'm writing an article. Whereas initially mine was with the DNS challenge, my update I'm doing is with HTTP challenge. But he has a great solution walkthrough for that. and fantastic update. And he's got the link in there to his write-up of that with all the source material. So you can go out and check that out. And my article will be out tomorrow. My update using the dehydrated Acme client, and then swapping out the F5 SDK that we've mostly retired. There's no external development being done on that anymore. But the Big Rest library that one of our MVPs wrote, I'm using that as my Python hook script. So look for that in the next day. For now, Linux Geek, awesome. Thank you for the contribution. And I love seeing clever technology that people share that makes life easier. And who doesn't like an easier way to manage certificates?
And we definitely like highlighting members' contributions. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, both of mine straight out of crowdsource. So excited to see that. And technically it wasn't March, but it was since last top 5. It was like the end of February. So, I will ask forgiveness, not permission.
We'll count it anyway. It goes. We'll just call it the Buu rule.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
The Buu rule.
Cool.
And I will say, with the article that I'm going to release this week, I'm following kind of the imperative using iControl REST to update Big IP and all that. But there are several solutions that people have built with Ansible in various levels of complexity and Terraform that I won't necessarily get into, but I'll share the links where people can go check those out. So if you're further down your automation path and you're using more tools than just native code to manage your certificates, and you're using things like Ansible and Terraform, there are solutions there as well. And so I'll share that out.
And we'll make sure all the articles get posted in the description once we wrap up this show today. I forgot to spin the topic wheel, but I know the topic for Thursday is Microservices Month, Lab 3. You want to talk about what's coming up on Thursday?
Yeah, I haven't actually run through it yet, but I believe this one was east-west traffic security, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check.
Doing a little sidecar.
We will be. Yeah, actually, that'll be fun to do that. We talked about, I think on the first one, we talked about how pods look and how they're, you'll see either one or two inside of there. Sometimes you'll see more. And so, yeah, that'll be fun to see the pods in action.
And then next Tuesday, a week from today, we have a extra special. Well, I don't know if it's special. It's just extra DevCentral live stream.
Yep.
As we all stay silent on the topic of that. And then, and then coming up, kicking off. I'm sorry. Ending March on the 31st. We got Lab 4 coming up.
That's right. We're gonna finish out the month strong with a final lab with the Microservices March. It's going to be a great time, and Buu is leading the charge this week, and then next week I'll lead the charge with that. So it'll be good.
Cool. We might have some surprises coming up in April too.
Yep.
After Buu's The Edge.
One thing that is on the calendar so far is a service provider special, and I'll be joined by Robin Mordashevitz, who is one of my favorite people. I haven't titled it specifically because there's some stuff being announced out there that will be coming out in the next couple weeks or so. So we can't actually talk about what it is, but we will by April 5th. We will be able to talk about what it is at that point. So that should be fun.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Did you enjoy yourself this morning, Aubrey?
I did. It was fantastic. Thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure to see your smiling faces.
Cool. We loved having you on. It's always nice to bring in folks from the field to our live streams. If you enjoyed this program, please give it a like. And if you want to catch us again sometime, hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of cool content on the channel. Don't forget to check out community.f5.com. Get your free membership. One of the cool things that we're doing on DevCentral now is after the Thursday shows. So, for instance, this Thursday and actually this past Thursday, after Buu and Jason go through the labs live on our broadcast channels, we'll then switch over to the DevCentral platform for some after show, and it's a Zoom session. So we all show our faces, we can all interact and chat. And so those have been actually quite fun over the last few weeks. So make sure you check that one out.
And we'll all get in the right Zoom call this week, I promise.
Yeah. It's already there. You could join it now if you wanted to.
That's right.
Yeah, we're still working out those, making it smooth transition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for Top 5. And I also want to send a special thanks and shout out. We've been, over the last couple of weeks, also broadcasting out through our corporate, the F5 corporate Twitter, and the F5 corporate Facebook the last couple of weeks. So welcome. We love having you, and hopefully you enjoyed the program. And with that, for Aubrey, for Buu, for Jason, I'm Peter, and we're with F5. Thanks for watching.
See you, folks.
Thanks all.
This week on DevCentral Connects. Once, twice, 3 times a lab. And I know you want to join. Thursday, March 24th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. DevCentral is piling on with NGINX's Microservices March, Month of Learning. And week 3 is all about microservices security pattern. That is, securing your apps and APIs. The lab will secure east-west traffic using NGINX as a sidecar. Buu and Jason will be starting the lab live on our channels, and then meet us live on DevCentral for the after show, where we'll finish the lab and go through any questions. The link's in the description. Set your reminder and get you access to DevCentral's after show. DevCentral Connects is live every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And I know you want to join once, twice, 3 times a lab.